Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spinner Rack. And we also have,
Oh Lord, Calvin Ellis, ready to rock.
now this is not something that's in my wheelhouse. I didn't get into the Injustice comic book. I didn't get into the video game. What is your relationship with the Injustice story and or video games, if you've
Uh,
played video games?
Occasionally, I do comic reviews, written comic reviews, and at the time Injustice came out, I think I did the reviews for they were broken up into 5 years. I did the reviews for every comic from year two through to year five. So very familiar with the series, read it, and I can give more. I can definitely give more detail on that. But that was my connection to it. I mean, there was a video game that was tied into it, and the comic book was supposed to be supportive of the video game. So they brought that, and the comic book sold like gangbusters. Okay, it really sold, and so because of that, you got 5 years out of it, as opposed to just that first one. But a lot of guys really, really liked it. So I got, I mean, I got into it, reviewed it, and so on and so forth. I definitely was not one of the guys who loved it or liked it, but I did understand why they went. I did understand why they went for it after a period of time.
So, with that said, let's look at whatever this trailer is.
Did you say trailer or trash?
I said trailer, bloody
Okay.
violence. They're preparing you for what you're about to see.
Imagine meeting you here, Lois.
Wow. Some of that Harley violence.
The All Justice League
Sorry.
members. A woman is missing. She's one of ours. Her name is Lois Lane. Lois. My masterpiece. Brace yourself. You took his wife. You took his unborn child and his city. Why? After all these years, Betsy, you really need reasons from me. What happened to Metropolis can never be allowed to occur again. You'll throw away everything the Justice League stands for.
It's a movie. Wow. What do you say to that? Cancel on the this stuff.
Yeah, I like that word right there. I say cancel.
All
It's a whole new balls game. Yes, it
right,
is.
stop
This
this.
must be the lawnmower.
Sorry for the. Thankfully, we stopped that before we have to finish that audio. So, what do you think of it?
I think this is out around 2011 or so,
Uh huh.
2011, 2012. So it's a lot of time since it first came out, but it was almost novel because it was this idea of an evil Superman and watching Superman, descend from, being the paragon of heroism into a villain, into a supervillain at the end of the day, and in the traditional way of a supervillain, where something happens to them and they believe they have now have the right just to do whatever the hell they want because of whatever actions occurred to them. Like like one of the classic Spider-Man villains. I get something happened to me now. Okay, great. Now I can rob every bank I want. I can beat anybody else up. That type of stuff. So we see Superman go through that trauma, but it never really, for me, it never stuck. It never stuck because the story was very, very thin, and the whole idea was of the story was just to set up a fight between Superman and Batman for the video game. So I was looking at a lot of the things that happened. I mean, because at one point in the storyline, Harley Quinn ends up joining Batman to fight against this evil Superman. And I'm like, well, how can you work with her? She's one of the reasons why this happened in the first place. She never goes to jail. She never pays for her crime. So you have a whole bunch of contradictory stuff going on. It was just it got weaker and weaker as time went on, but that's to be expected because there wasn't really a lot to foundation to begin with. I never cared for it, but at the time, it was an evil Superman story, and a lot of people weren't familiar with anything that was like an evil Superman. Like, if I had told them about Ultraman, they would have never thought of it. So, this was a novel idea for them. Now we've seen Evil Superman a lot to the point where I don't know how well this will resonate, but the guys who enjoyed the video game and the comic, they'll probably like to see the animation.
For me, this thing plays up the whole Kingdom Come thing. Something that, I mean, there's only like a couple stories where the Joker meets Superman. So I don't know that he would have any connection to any of those characters. But they keep playing up the serial killer that can't be killed, Joker, and then they find someone who could kill him or give him a reason to find Superman to do that. And that's the part that I thought was a little too much, trying to deal with deal with the DC universe as if it was like Secret Wars, like that everyone was under one umbrella where you could just say, oh, the Joker will kill this person, where it's not ultimately, if any killing's going to be happening, it's got to be, from some DC character, but they don't have anyone that's really a serial killer. So it's like, oh, would it be cool with the Joker? Well, not for me. And that didn't really, that idea that this is what drew Superman out of Kingdom Come, and then seeing them play that sort of thing out here never really worked for me. That sort of thing of the Joker coming up and saying, hey, let's chase after Lois Lane. Why? Oh, because Lois Lane is always the one that gets captured in this, but we do something different. We're going to blow up Metropolis. Why? Why not? Oh, okay, no. I can't do it. I can't do it. You can blow up half of what's the name, but like you're pushing it. And you're pushing it storytelling wise because we only allow Joker to do that, not because the heroes are better, because, that's ultimately what the Killing Joke was supposed to be about, that he was saying that they were characters that were in the comic book that couldn't die. So they're basically in this rat race, right? They can't go anywhere. So that sort of thing that's always like when you decide to push them into another town, it's all right for having heroes fighting the Joker or something like that for a story, but not for like the killing of a major character in your storyline. You shouldn't do that with any sort of thing, but they kind of treat these heroes like they're like they're literally all in the same sandbox. So I can just pick and choose and say, oh, that would be cool. The guy from the Doom Patrol will kill Perry White. And it's like, well, no, you can use Mala or any of those guys in a Superman story, but not to kill someone important, not that sort of thing. But with that said, I guess for the people who like this stuff, it's kind of a cheer, yeah. So it's not for me, but I guess there are people out there that like stuff like that.
There's a bunch of people out there that like stuff like that. This was, it's not, ostensibly it's a Superman story, but it's not, because Superman would never react this way to this type of stuff happening. And the Joker isn't a Superman villain. The fact that the Joker would spend this much time and attention on doing any of this stuff with Superman or Metropolis, it's all sizzle at the end of the day. It's like, oh, what if we do this? We bring the Joker in. So you're trying to do greatest hits at the end of the day. And then Superman is pretty much the guy you bring in to do the one thing that Batman never would, to kill off the Joker. Just finally, end all of this stuff, put this guy out of his misery, spare people a whole bunch of terror and panic, and get it done. But the whole premise of this was to set up a reason for Superman and Batman to fight each other. That was the whole premise of this thing. So, and it's such a thin premise, because then you have to try to explain, okay, Superman's going to go, just totally ape scat at the end of the day to that point. And then the biggest problem is that usually the way that it happens is that all of the superpowered heroes tend to side with Superman. So Superman's going to get, like Wonder Woman, Aquaman, those type of heroes will all side with Superman. And Batman gets all the street level heroes like Green Lantern, Black Canary. People can't really do too much against these other guys, and somehow they're fighting against each other. That's where the battle lines are drawn. And I'm like, well, you can't have that. That's going to have these guys, they're just going to mow them down. But they were able to drag out the story for X amount of time for this and that reason. It was just a bad story. There were points where literally Superman wants to kill Batman. He wants to kill him. He's so tired of him trying to stop his stuff. And he would have Batman dead to rights, and he would decide, no, I'm not going to kill him. I'm going to let him go. And well, why is that the case? Oh, because the comic has to tie into the storyline of the video game. So that happened 2 or 3 times. It was just some ridiculous stuff at the end of the day. This, I'm not sure what they're going to do because it's a movie, so it's going to be an hour and change. So they're definitely they'll probably condense it to just that first year because that was the best year at the end of the day. But not a great story at the end of the day. But the guys loved it because a lot of people went in thinking this was the DC universe and Superman finally lost it. And they have been waiting for this story. The day Superman lost it, he's just going over here and now he's mowing them all down. And that was the character that they had wanted to see. And that was the character that they wanted to be as well. And so they were able to go with it.
Well, that also brings into another interesting thing, that like Superman, as far as the fandom, have kind of been like a character that there have been like somehow they tried to go to Superman and say, well, it has to be this thing. It cannot be Superman cannot be the adolescent power fantasy. It can't be him just versus other villains and such like that. When you have characters like Spider-Man, who's basically him against weaker villains, and it's like, well, we need to get we need to try to throw in the wonder, but then when you reverse it and you turn Superman evil, and then it's the ultimate power fantasy, then people are like, yes, perfect, absolute power, like the joke that Roger Stern about said if he was Superman, he would turn to the people and say, as your king, like that sort of thing, where people immediately go to that route of storytelling and they're totally with it, but they're totally against basically Superman cleaning up Metropolis on the day-to-day stuff, maybe running into a couple people that are as powerful as him. If that's the case, you can't do that. You have to do wonder, but then if you turn him bad, totally can do that. That's fine. That's like good. It doesn't really make too much sense. And at the same time, different from doing David versus Goliath, then they do the tortoise and the hare, which is slightly different, but it's I'm going to underestimate you every step of the way. I'm not going to do anything, and then next thing you know, be surprised when you win. That type of storytelling works for the tortoise and the hare. It's really hard to do that type of story and it be interesting because we've seen the tortoise and the hare, and it's a basic story of the hubris or something like that. So you can do it, but it's not interesting. How many? I know they like to do it, but how many times can you do it? So I don't know. With that said, any other thoughts?
Oh God, there was a great Superman storyline called All Worlds at War. They never made an animated feature of it or went any further with that storyline. It was outselling Uncanny X-Men at the time. I always wish that they would, tap that or some of the other great Superman stories instead of things like this. And I still do.
Well, with that said, thinking about DC, like you had to extract some of the stuff that they've done, but you can find a bunch of other stories to sort of play with rather than just go to Superman and Batman, and even with their sort of miniseries when they have the top talent, they could kind of utilize other characters and other things. And it'd be fun to see them kind of go into different things that's out there and say, well, let's kind of, see. Because while, it's hard to say, people now go, oh, we didn't like Millennium, but it's like, while it was going on, it was fine. You had the Justice League looking like the regular Justice League. You had people popping up that were actually manhunters, and they had it throughout history. They were already manhunters. And you could sort of play that up and have it a big Green Lantern type of deal. You don't have to do the new Guardians, but you could play that. So you can do a bunch of these things rather than just go to the go right back to the well. But the problem is one of those things. Same thing that happened with the New Frontier is somehow they decided instead of using the more obscure characters, like let's just get it right back to Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. And it's like this. The fun part would be to kind of see who you can explore, like do Green Lantern a little more and that sort of thing. But I'm hearing what you're saying. What you're saying about there's other Superman stories they could do. The DC things they could do. So, with that said, I'm going to sign off. And for any of you guys fans of Injustice, you got a movie, you got a digital movie to go check out. Spinner Rack
Out.
Peace.